All right, the public is connected and we are live on YouTube, so go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. It's 9:15 a.m. and I would like to call to order the meeting of the Government Affairs and Public Information Committee on Friday, December 16th, 2022. Before we begin, please note this meeting is live streamed on YouTube and recorded. Members of the public are encouraged to watch and listen to the meeting online or by dialing into 415-569-6446 for the audio of this meeting. If you would like to provide public comment at today's meeting, and if you have not done so already, please call at 415-569-6446 and let the facilitator know what items you would like to speak on today. Madam Secretary, please begin by calling the roll.
Thank you. Good morning again, everyone. Starting with Director Garbarino.
Present.
Director Giudice. Absent. Director Hernandez.
Here.
Director Hill.
Here.
Director Rodoni. Absent. Director Stephanie. Absent. Vice Chair Snyder.
Present.
Chair Cochran.
Here.
And President Ontario.
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum. Also on the line, you have Directors Brosville, Maston, Parr, and Fear. So you are a committee of the whole. I'll confirm staff. Dennis Mulligan.
Here.
Joe Wire.
Yes.
Eva Bauer-Furbush.
Present.
Kim Manolian.
Good morning.
Dave Rivera.
Good morning, President.
Mona Babauta.
Present.
Tim Swindler is absent. Kelly Hopper.
Present.
Thank you. That confirms everyone on our line.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to remind everyone to mute their microphones until after staff presentation, and remember to unmute when we open up for directors discussion. If we have directors joining us by phone, please use your mute button or *6 to unmute yourself. After staff presentation, I will be asking for any questions or comments on the item. Click on the raise hand function if you have a question, or press *9 if you join by phone. If there are any questions, the secretary, I will call on you accordingly. If we missed your raised hand, please speak up. After our discussion, we will ask for any public comment before moving on. Please follow along by referencing the page number, in this case located in the attachment upper right-hand corner of the meeting packet. After discussion portion, we will ask the public comment before moving on. Please follow along by referencing the page number located at the top right-hand corner of your meeting package. We will begin with item number 3 on the agenda, which is to approve the district's 2023 legislative platform. The staff report will begin on page 3 of your packet, and we will have Dennis introduce this report. Dennis, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Cochran, members of the board, and members of the public. Staff recommends that the board approve a legislative platform as outlined in the staff report, including its attachment. This is similar to what the board has done in prior years. Adopting such a legislative platform provides flexibility for staff and our legislative advocates to react immediately as issues arise, consistent with the areas that are concerned for the district. The Ledge platform provides direction on important legislative and policy issues. And these efforts will be in keeping with the district's resolutions declaring a climate emergency and our resolution on racial equity and justice. The district, like many Bay Area transit agencies, is facing a fiscal cliff. So a lot of our attention and effort next year will be focused on working with other transit agencies and the Metropolitan Transportation Commission in seeking legislative solutions for a bridge, no pun intended, to provide funding, to provide basically a solution, a short-term solution for the fiscal cliff that's facing us and other agencies until such time as the region develops a longer-term funding strategy. Also, a high priority for the district is the funding for our final phase of the seismic retrofit project. You may recall that we did apply for a bridge investment program discretionary grant. That's a new discretionary program that was included in the bipartisan infrastructure law that was passed last year. We have applied for that and we are awaiting outcome on that. And we're also working on the state side with Assemblymember Ting in the governor's office on state funding to assist us. But that is a huge priority for the district.
Thank you, sir. So the funny thing is,
Also, on the transportation funding side, we want the flexibility to pursue earmarks for district priorities consistent with your capital plan. We want the flexibility to reach out to our partners in Congress for letters of support for the various initiatives that we apply for. The report has other items that are highlighted. On the state side, I'll mention toll operations. There was a flurry of legislation last legislative session in Sacramento that dealt with toll operations. And that's obviously important to us because it's our largest source of revenue. So we want to make sure that we support continued efforts to implement Regional Measure 3, which is on the state bridges, but we want to monitor statewide mandates on electronic tolling and to make sure that legislation doesn't cause any harm to us, particularly as it pertains to personally identifiable information. We also have broad goals with respect to bike and pedestrian safety, as well as state transportation funding and transit operations, safety and security. In general, we seek authority to go along with California Transit Association and the American Public Transit Association initiatives for funding just in general for a rising tide for all transit agencies, with a particular interest in anything that may affect state transit assistance-based revenues, because it is something there's an interest at a state level to revisit that could have negative consequences for us. There's a lot in the report. I won't go through all of it. I just highlighted a few of them. But what we're seeking is your approval of that framework so we have running room to react quickly as things unfold in Sacramento and Washington, D.C. I just want to remind the committee that in Sacramento, our representative is Platinum Advisors, Bo Biller and Steve Wallach. And in Washington, D.C., it's Thorn Run, Mr. Paul Schlesinger. But with that, I'm available to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you for your presentation, Dennis. Are there any questions from the directors on item 3? Okay, we got several hands up. I think, Chris, you were first.
Sure. Thanks, Dennis. And it's been really interesting to sit on this committee and to have the opportunity to participate in some of this advocacy with our lobbyists and with Dennis. And it's been, we got a really great team, and I appreciate the report. I had a couple questions though. I guess the first one, the RM3 stuff, the lawsuit, is that still, you know where we're at with that, or?
Yeah, it's before the state Supreme Court. They had held it in abeyance because there's a court dealing with garbage fees in Oakland. And the thinking was that the outcome in that case may affect RM3. They did rule on that case about a month and a half ago, and the ruling did not have any impact on Regional Measure 3. So they will be taking up Regional Measure 3 sometime next year. It's of interest to us broadly because it does lots of transportation improvements throughout the region, but Regional Measure 3 also included $30 million of funding for a new San Rafael Transit Center. So it is something that we are monitoring and we're very vested in. And so it's one of the bullets, if you wish, on the attachment, because it's something that we want to track and we want to see come to fruition.
Right on. But I mean, it doesn't come directly to us. It'll just come to that through MTC and some of the ancillary Bay Area Tolling Authority and whatnot.
It would go through MTC acting as the Bay Area Toll Authority, and the voter pamphlet had specific projects listed. And so that whole suite of projects would be allowed to proceed if the Supreme Court rules in favor of the Metropolitan Transportation Commission.
Okay. Thanks. And I guess the other one I was looking at was that Larkspur Channel federalization. What is that about? Is that something we're responsible for now and we want to shift?
Yeah, so currently we're dredging it as we speak. Ava has a construction contract. The contractor for a while there had 2 large crane barges and dump scows out there. It's a 2-mile long channel. About every 4 or 5 years, we dredge about 500,000 cubic yards. We've been successful in using Federal Transit Administration funding for 80% of the cost, with district match the other 20%. But if we were able to convert it into a federal channel, and if we were to have the Army Corps of Engineers do that as part of their regular work, then that Federal Transit Administration money that we use for dredging could be redirected for other district priorities. So it's a long-term thing. Water Resources Development Act legislation from almost 2 decades ago now did provide an opening, but we need now to continue walking through that opening with the Corps. I should note, though, that if we are successful in this effort, it would mean that it would be eligible for core funding, but it wouldn't be guaranteed, and we'd have to, go lobby for it. But it
Right.
is a long-term initiative. That's, something that would help us long-term with respect to our finances. So it's something that we're slowly chipping away at.
And is that an act of Congress then? That
It is. And there was a prior act that had the opening where the Corps was authorized to do a study on the feasibility of whether or not it could become a federalized channel. We're the only user of the channel. There's no other navigation or anything.
right?
So it is tricky, but there was a prior appropriation of funding for dredging that then Senator Boxer got through. And as part of that, the Corps did one dredging episode for us. And as part of that, they had to do a benefit cost analysis. And so we're looking at building upon that as part of this. And so there is authorizing legislation that provides that direction to the Corps. It's just getting them to do the work because the Corps is, understaffed. But it's a long-term initiative. But the current ongoing dredging is currently paid for with 80% other people's money. We would just like to make that more permanent so we can shift money around.
That's great. And I went out into that. We went out and visited that project with our local dredge agent. It was pretty neat. It's what they're doing out there. I guess I'm kind of bouncing around, but finally the 400 million that we're trying to get out of. I mean, I know we're working with Caltrans and trying to get through something through their program, and then you met with Pete Buttigieg, which was pretty neat. I actually had the opportunity to meet with his number 2, Nina Trottenberg, back in DC, and mentioned our application too. But was there anything, you get any indication from those folks? I know the mega grants are supposed to be coming out soon, which is different, but
yeah, this is a different pot. We're very fortunate that the bipartisan infrastructure law included a new discretionary program nationwide for large bridges. So it's something where the competition arguably, hopefully, is a little less than the usual highway programs. But we are anticipating something by the end of the year. Realistically, though, if they don't do the announcements one way or the other next week, it probably won't happen until January. But we had been told at the end of October they thought they would do them sometime in December. So we did apply for a $400 million multi-year grant, and we're awaiting, hearing yay or nay on that. We did have a lot of support from our delegation, Speaker Pelosi, Senator Feinstein. Senator Padilla personally called over Secretary Buttigieg and made the call for us. Congressman Huffman, Congressman Thompson. So, we've marshaled a lot of forces, but we're in a holding pattern on that. Then separately, we're seeking $300 million from the state, from federal highway funds that come to California for bridges. And that's where Assemblymember Ting, who's the chair of the budget committee, and the governor's staff are, being helpful in trying to move that forward for us.
great. Thanks, Dennis. And I appreciate the report and the in-depth analysis and the work that we do politically. It's key to so much of moving the bridge in the right direction and keeping it safe for the public.
Okay, thank you, Director Snyder. Director Hill.
Excuse me, yes. Bottom of page 1 has bicycle and pedestrian safety. Let me clear my throat. I would like to see work on Alexander Avenue. It has portions that are very dangerous. It's heavily used by pedestrians and bicyclists and other modes in active transportation. It has at least 3 owners on it. And I think this is a good time to start looking at some kind of solution for it. All these active transportation is growing in the city and the area. And right now, people come off the bridge and they end up with an area that it is a high injury and fatality street. And I think it's worth trying to get some money and coordination and organization to find a way of making it much easier to use.
Certainly, Director Hill. The legislative platform doesn't seek money for each individual project. We just call out the seismic retrofit because it's so large that it could basically be an existential threat to the district's finances. But we are interested in pursuing money for all the district's needs. And we are participating through our new Bike Pedestrian Advisory Committee in talk with stakeholders about how to solve Alexander Avenue. The tunnel under 101, which is a blind curve, is owned by Caltrans, as is the intersection when you first exit 101 going northbound. And so there's a lot of stakeholders there, and it is something we're interested in, but it's not something that'll be solved with legislation. It'll be something that'll be solved with, collaboration with Caltrans, with Marin County and others. And it is something that, we're very focused on.
Okay, well, we can talk. Thanks.
All right. Any other questions from the board members? If not, thank you all for your comments. And Madam Secretary, we have, I believe, someone from the public.
Yes, we do. We have Mr. Pilpel this morning again. David, are you there?
I am.
All right, David, go ahead. We hear you.
Thanks. Okay, so on the legislative platform on page 2, I'm not quite sure why the third bullet is indented. I mean, it's certainly related to electrification and whatnot, but it also kind of stands on its own. And there was something. Oh, and in the last bullet in that box. No, wait a minute. Sorry. In the last bullet, although there is reference to meetings and transit agency governance, there isn't yet a specific reference to pensions and records. I would understand that to be sort of part of the overall. I'm just concerned about the sort of administrative functions of the agency, including meetings, pensions, records, that sort of thing. I know that's high in people's minds. It's just not fully incorporated into the ledge platform. Other than that, I support the proposed ledge platform for next year, which is continues to be both comprehensive and incredibly concise. I mean, the entire sort of world of legislation for the district is distilled down to 2 pretty dense and important pages here. So great work, and I support this. Thanks.
Thank you, David. Amaret, is there any other public members that want to speak?
We have no other speakers under item 3 or for
Okay.
public comment.
Okay, thank you. Colleagues, may I have a motion on agenda item number 3 to approve the 2023 legislative platform?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Thank you. Voting on item number 3, the first and second, starting with Director Arnold, who's absent. Director Conroy is absent. Director Garbarino.
Aye.
Director Giudice. Absent. Director Grosboll.
Aye.
Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Parr.
Aye.
Director Rabbit is absent. Director Rodoni is absent. Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie is absent. Director Thier.
Aye.
Second Vice President Hill.
Yes.
First Vice President Cochran.
Yes,
And President Terrio.
Yes.
Thank you. That is exactly 10 ayes.
thank you. The motion passes and we'll move on to item number 4, which is our adjournment. Do I hear anyone making a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Count for once.
All right. I guess I don't need a second for that. Madam Secretary, is there anything else that we need to do?
That's it. You've conducted all the business necessary. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So now we got till 10 a.m.
Till
Is that-
10.
Till 10. All right. See y'all then.
All right. Thank you.